It's 2023, but this interview will be timeless. I was growing up and coming of age when they exploded. I loved them back then, and I will love them so much now and forevermore. They have new music out that is the same excitement and exuberance and fun, same now as it was back then, and it's really fucking good. Welcome to the Scandalous Podcast. Ajay Popoff, singer for the band Lit. How are you doing?
Hey, great. Wow. What an intro. Thank you so much.
I mean, I really could have gone on longer. Like, I
That
don't
was
get. Oh,
my
yeah.
blushing. I was talking about having some front lighting. It's a good thing I don't, because I'm like, might be blushing a little bit. That was very kind. Thank you.
Well, I don't know. You said blush, but I don't know. I was like 30 seconds sitting down to do this. And then I was like, I don't get nervous. Like, I've met Metallica, like I've been around like everybody in the world, and I really don't care about any of it. But like, I got to tell you, like the first like 30 seconds or something sitting down, I kind of reverted back to like middle school me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be talking to the lead singer of Lit. Oh my God. And then I just like had this whole like, breathe, remember who you are. You've got this. Like, this is what you do. You're fine. But I had that moment when I was sitting down and I was like, oh my God. And I don't know if I felt that way in maybe a year and a half, 2 years of doing interviews of anybody that was like so much a part of like from outfit,
That's very
just,
cool.
it's like, it's the culture. And you were such a fan of the culture and the time. And there was like
I really missed that about music, right? But it's funny you mentioned meeting Metallica. I have an interesting meeting Metallica story.
Ooh,
and it was just like in the heat of the heyday of like getting invited to like K-Rock, Weenie Roast, and all the radio shows all over the country. And it actually was K-Rock, Weenie Roast. And we went up to do a gag on Blink, they were in the middle of their set, and they had run through one of our music videos naked. It was kind of a spoof on their own video, but the Ziploc video. And so when they were on, we were like side stage. We're like, oh, we're going to run naked across their stage. This is obviously during a time where if I did that now, I would be, and I've been in trouble for that. Yeah. And more so, I'd be like, canceled probably forever. But it was just so crazy we're side stage and we're getting ready to do it. And we're completely naked. And I look over to my right, about to run out to the stage, and it's James Hetfield standing there kind of like looking at us like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, Mr. Hetfield, holy shit. And like, first time meeting him, shook his hand. We're like trying to cover up, and met him, and then ran across stage naked, kind of, trying to cover up best we could. But it was a moment. I think that was the Weenie Rest where they were throwing lemons constantly. It was like they had this idea they're going to have fresh lemonade throughout the whole day. And like all the bands were getting pelted with half lemons.
I can't even process that.
I was protecting the important bits.
Okay, so my first question, which you already, but I mean, let's elaborate. So you really didn't give a fuck about going naked?
I mean,
I love it.
Seriously, like
really, like balls out, like really? Okay.
During those times, we were just like, as a band, like I see some of these bands that are actually, it's a completely different time now when you're a new band. And you're just getting like, I don't even know how they gauge the success. Is it off like, oh, we got X amount of followers or views on our YouTube video or whatever? It's for us, it was a time when it was like, we wanted a song on the radio. And then it was like an MTV video, because we're from the MTV generation. So having a video on MTV was like, you really made it then. And it was a time that all these things are coming to fruition. We're just like, living in a fantasy world, all these dreams are coming true. We're opening for our favorite bands, and we're touring the world, and we're on MTV, and it was just insane. So you do have this sense of like being invincible a little bit and like kind of in a bubble. And it's so crazy, like thinking back to those times, how we did kind of get away with a lot, but we thought we can get away with more. I mean, I got arrested once for doing it. Thank God I don't have a record for it. But I mean, it was just, I don't know. I didn't feel like I was getting in trouble. I felt like I'm living a dream anyway, so this isn't real, right? I'm just going to go kind of like what you do in a dream. Everything we were doing on a day-to-day basis was like the shit you see and you're doing in your dreams. So it's like, I'll get naked. Who cares? And it wasn't like the idea of somebody seeing me, because people in the audience were just, you connect with people, from time to time, but like that's a sea of people and it's an energy and you're just like, I feel this certain energy. I'm going to do something crazy and they're being crazy and we're just doing it together. So fuck it. And that was one of those moments. I'd done it more times than probably should have. Even, I don't know, like I said, I went to jail for it one time and I was in the Bible Belt. So it's like, I was just an idiot then.
Oh, well, I'm from Texas. So, I can only celebrate that. I'm like, oh, that's fun. That's fine.
Sort of got away with it.
It's fun. Yeah.
Because I don't have a record. I'm good. I'm like pretty solid.
It's fine. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I've mellowed the fuck out. I don't do dumb shit anymore. Like, not that kind of dumb shit.
I don't know. Well, it's so fun talking. Like, I haven't talked to many bands like from my youth and like that, fostered like my passion, love for music. So it's kind of fun to talk to you about these times, because the thing is like, I'm backstage at every show I go to. And like, it's not really what people think it is. It's people tired, people jet lagged, people on their phones, like maybe catering or whatever, and it's really not that fun rock and roll time like everyone thinks it is. And everyone talks about, it's not like it used to be. And when we came on here, I was like, hey, I love that you have a glass of wine, there's vodka in my Starbucks cup, because everyone's sober these days and everyone's like, oh, I just can't do it anymore. I used to be crazy. I can't do that anymore. And I'm like, you're still drinking wine.
Yeah. I mean, if you get reel it in when you have to, which, and if you got through the crazier times and, nobody got hurt and you're good and your body, you're somewhat healthy and like, I don't know. I don't see a problem with that. I go through clean spells and I live a little different. I live a lot differently now than I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing wrong with, as long as like you have a grip and you have control over your life and you're not, hurting people. And like I said, just, I don't know, we're doing it still.
Yeah.
Within reason.
I completely agree with that. And I go through dry spells myself where like I won't drink for 2-3 months and then I'll like start drinking again or something like that. But sometimes, whatever. Sometimes it's just good. Well, I had back surgery. So I couldn't drink before or after. So that helped.
And you were, and Vicodin or whatever you're taking is like,
No, I'm a lady. I've always been in rock and metal. So I've never, ever, once ever done a drug other than weed ever. Like, well, wow, that's awesome. I live in Austin. So like psychedelics are psychedelics, but because I was in the genre, I like never once touched anything. So I was like, nah, I never did that. Whatever, I will say that. But what I mean to say by that, because, if you need to be sober by all means, and that's wonderful. Sure. But there's this like aspect of fun rock and roll culture that just, the funness, like the gremlin-ness of like running around and being fucking fun. Like I remember like running around with like Papa Roach and just being like fun like that and drinking with them, Yeah. There's just like
back when it was
an aura of fun. Yeah.
Because that was a different guy, right? Back then.
Well, yeah. When we met, he was like, let's be friends. I used to be crazy. I'm not crazy anymore.
Was he was sober already?
He wasn't sober. He was drinking, but he was like, hey, great to meet you. You're cool. Like you. I used to be really fucking crazy. I'm not that crazy anymore, but like, let's hang, let's party. That's like the premise I met him under. But there's just like,
I love Jacoby. Great dude.
And has continued to forever be a great dude, wonderful. But there's just like there's like a feeling of that like rock and roll, like some fun that you were talking about that I do miss, like actually that, was like so much more that it used to be. So.
We kind of have like a responsibility to keep rock and roll a little bit dangerous because it's okay. And I'll raise my glass to the sober musicians and sober fans and whoever decided to be sober. I mean, if it works for you, great. And I encourage it and I respect it. Then leave the job to us to keep it dangerous a little bit and it might like put on a show. we could be the shit show. I love being around some of my sober friends. Actually, our bass player is sober, and he does it really well. He's around the tour bus, and we're not super out of control, but there's some nights where we have our drink on, and that guy is sober, and you would think he was the drunkest guy in the room because he just feeds off the energy and he does it so well. It's like, man, you're still fun to be around. And there's people that can be in the party and then, don't have to hide from it. And, in order to stay sober, and it sucks because I know some people just literally cannot be around it.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer because so many cool people and talented people are drinking and going crazy sometimes. And it would suck to not be able to be around it, because temptation.
Yeah, you want to love your friends and support your friends, and you want the best for everyone. But there's fun, and then you can see there'll be one sober person on the tour, and then the entire tour has to be sober, and that's yeah.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
I'd have my own band. We make our own rules.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, more about you. I talked about why this was such a fun interview for me. I think it was this is middle school dreams come true. Lit is one of those bands that I was just too young to go to the shows back then, but you guys are coming back around with, new music and, playing shows. It's so much fun. So I'm so excited. So, like I said, I opened up Yay 2023. We're still going. That's awesome. I was going to a party this weekend and I just hit shuffle on Lit and I was getting all excited and ready. And it was opened up to my own worst enemy, but then you started singing Anti-Hero. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah. Oh man. That's
what a surprise.
The way that came about was just very spontaneous. We don't we've been doing this for a very long time and we're no spring chickens, but it's we're still pretty much the same dudes, aside from the fact that more responsibilities. I have a daughter who's a senior in college now. It's insane. But doing the TikTok, and I just did a skit with my drummer because he's the only guy that's not original and young, good looking dude. And we did that skit. Am I too young to be here? Is it whatever? And so we were we kind of roll with it and we kind of have fun with it. And I'm trying to think where so I'm not I wasn't a big fan of TikTok at first. I just didn't understand it. I'm this is just people doing shit that I don't understand. I don't get, why are they doing that? And then I started to understand, I wanted to, because it's so important to bands to be in it, and it's free marketing and you're stupid to not sort of get on board. So I started researching it and figuring out these videos that are going crazy. And then I stumbled upon some DJ did a remix, or not, a mashup, I guess, of My Worst Enemy and Anti-Hero. And it sounded so killer. And I think it was just the Enemy music with Taylor's music, melody and lyrics. And I was talking to my wife about it, and she's like, that'd be so cool if you would actually cut a vocal to that and but incorporated My Worst Enemy, vocals too. I'm man, I don't know.
I'm a rocker. I'm a roller.
Yeah.
There's some Taylor Swift songs I'll just hear. I don't go listen to her on purpose, except she does have this one song that if I'm drunk at a bar, I'm talking about this song. I love it. And it's one day I'll be living in a big old city and all you're ever gonna be is me. That's such a fucking good line.
It's such a good song.
And it's one of her first ones.
Yeah.
I'm not a Swiftie, but I think
so
about that
good.
song and I'm
really is.
fuck yeah, I love that one. So
Yeah.
that it's good. I'm not a Swiftie, but watching all this shit on social media, I love the way that people love it. And she's love
all-time
the way
biggest.
people love her.
Yeah, I think she's probably the biggest star of all time, possibly. She came into Nashville recently and took over this entire city on Beatlemania level and then some. So she's the way she connects with her fans is beyond anything I've ever seen any artist do. Even the Beatles, even Elvis. She's maybe up there with Elvis on that kind of connection and that kind of hysteria. Just they want to be. And I was talking about this with some of my friends. It's it's become such a thing that even without Taylor Swift, it would still live on. Like they've come, it's a culture now, and they just get off on each other and just live in this Swiftie land, and it's unreal.
Yeah.
But that song, so we tried it and it freaking sounded amazing. It just like kind of like, damn, it's like this, I think the tempo, I don't think we had to change the tempo at all. The lyric, the idea, what she's talking about could have been, some of those lines could have been in our song and vice versa. I was just so crazy. I'm like, this song, this is like the perfect collaboration. Like, I wish we could have like written this song together, and gone back in time and like rewrote it. But we honestly, we kind of just guerrilla style, just did it, finished it, put it out, because Swifties were asking for it and people were digging it. And we're like, all right, there it is.
I love it. Well, it's so cute and it's so fun. And like, even if you like Taylor Swift and you don't, I think it's really cool. There's so much negativity in the world to just support things that are happy in the world. Me, if you're not a Swiftie, just like, there's cuteness and all these people love it. And I love cuteness and happiness and like joy, and even if you don't like it, it's cute. There's some joy over here. I love it.
100%. I love all, and seriously, I don't necessarily agree with them. I hate when people bring politics into everything, because it's not, and that's what I love about entertainment. And thank God the way I'm wired is I'm able to separate those things. And like, I'm from the squad, and trust me, let's get the hell off this topic as soon as I'm done saying this, because no one wants to hear about politics. We hear about it every day. But I just love artists that are, it's kind of hard for me, because the artists that get too political, I'm like, I don't want to know. Just let me, like you said, the happiness, the cuteness, all that stuff. That's what I gravitate towards. And whatever your art is about, that's what I fall in love with. I don't need to know you on a political level at all. And everyone, may disagree with that because you have a platform, but we're not experts on, worldwide politics, and we just need to shut up sometimes. Yeah. So I'm going to shut up on that topic, but I'm with you. I love lighthearted, even with the TikTok videos that don't make sense to me and someone's just doing something goofy. I don't have to talk shit. I don't have to be like, what is that? And I'm just like, oh, that's fun. Yeah. It's funny. I'll laugh and then scroll on. It's fun. That's what it's for.
All you have to do is scroll.
Scroll with it.
Yeah. You writer, you writer, you clever guy.
Thank you. I'll go one on.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I try like this. I try and be happy for people. I'm not jealous, but you played Hootie Fest, and it wasn't going to work out with my schedule this year. But like, starting with you, I need to have Hootie and the Blowfish on the podcast. I need to have Edwin McCain. I need to be at all the events. I want to work them next year. How was Hootie Fest? Because fuck, I wanted to be there so bad.
I mean, how can you go wrong in Cancun? It's like beautiful resort. Darius is like one of the coolest dudes on the planet. Just invited us, took care of everybody. His story, I didn't even know their full story, and I couldn't, not about to retell it, but I'm friends with country artist Michael Ray, who's good friends with Darius, and I heard about their whole like come up, and it's almost like everything was just like perfect timing, just good karma. The results were just unfolding, like just being in the right place at the right time, and everything was just firing perfectly for Hootie. I think David Letterman was a big part of it. I don't know if you know about that story, and like he was on.
Well, and what did you have them on?
Well, it was
is that the story?
Well, the story is like they were on, I think a radio station played them on like this like locals only show or whatever. And David Letterman just happened to be driving home from the studio or whatever and heard their song, and immediately called his producer and said, we have to have Hootie and the Blowfish on the show like this Friday or whatever it was. And so they reached, I guess they were on tour or whatever. And they're like, oh, we have a show that night or something. I think it was like they were thinking about maybe not doing it. And whoever it was, I think it was a manager or whoever was like, are you kidding me right now? David Letterman wants you on the show. Like, you absolutely have to do it. And that was like, I want to say like a month later, they were selling out like amphitheaters. Like it immediately just like blew up. but they're just, I mean, that whole band, they're just such great guys. And, but the Hootie Fest was just a bunch of friends, a bunch of peers and people on vacation. So everyone's in a great mood.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Well,
views.
just like thinking I went hiking myself this weekend. I was just like trying to come up with something. And then I was like, oh, Hootie and the Blowfish. I want to listen to Hootie and the Blowfish right now. And I put it on and I was like, fuck, his voice is so good. And like, it's such an iconic, like, oh, and your voice is like that. It's like, the voices of that like era and time, and like, oh, like he has that with your voice, and your voice is so like that for me too. It's like put on, it's like,
thanks so much. That's cool.
yeah.
I'm actually a bigger fan of Darius Rucker's, the country stuff. I wasn't as into Hootie's music as I am Darius. Somehow just.
Well, it's kind of
because I'm older now.
No, it's because you're a guy.
Maybe.
I don't know. And maybe that's it. But like, I don't know. As a woman, it's like, I don't know.
It's sort of like, I guess Hootie and the Blowfish kind of had that same feel that like Third Eye Blind had in a way, almost like that just festival of the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know, because like wasn't around for that time.
Oh, that's wrong. I've been backstage like on tour, and we have a day off and we'll go watch a band from the 80s, like people that like Bret Michaels or Poison. Those guys, we were like, as a 15-year-old, I grew up going to Sunset. Our band always played Sunset Strip. And so bands like Poison and Warrant and these like glam rock hair bands from Hollywood were like, they were the bands that were doing what we were doing in the very, very beginning, because there were no all-age clubs where we lived in Orange County. So, we kind of looked up to those bands. They got the record deal. They were on MTV, and it was so weird to see like full circle when these bands started like becoming fans of our music and inviting us to their shows and inviting us on stage. And the first couple of times we went backstage at a Poison or Bret Michaels show, there were still like groupies, and there were still like actually attractive women that were just there to they wanted to hook up with the band. And it was just, I just remember thinking like, we didn't have those backstages back, even like in the 90s, like 2000s, it was just, like you said, it was more guys sitting on a couch, like cell phones, like chips and salsa and whatever, your rider on the table, and an occasional, like if a guy brought a girl back and was acting like that, you'd be like, dude, didn't we talk about that? Like, you're not bringing these random people into the dressing room, it gets all serious. It became more of like a business, I feel like, in the late 90s. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, now that's turned into backstage doesn't have any of that, and there's no drinking, and it's just cleaned up.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, but it's kind of cool. I feel like sometimes it kind of like be a fly on a wall back then. If you can just walk into one of those bands' dressing rooms and get to witness what it was like in the 70s and 80s, like, hell yeah. I would like pay big money to have that virtual experience. Like,
yeah.
Let's go.
That's okay. So that's what I mean to talk about, because like you talking about like, hey, I want to see what this was like. I've always wondered what it would have been like during the 90s and like the early 2000s. So you're kind of telling me what it was like back then. That's kind of like, I imagine that there was still kind of some of that going on. So like what you're talking about, like with these bands from the 80s, like, oh, I'd love to see that. Since I was, a kid, or, when I grew up, got into music, started doing press, all this stuff, being at shows, I would always be like, God, what would it have been like, Lit or Need Six or Offspring, all right stuff. So thanks for filling us all in.
The times, I would tell you this, there were times where it got like that, and it was always at, MTV Spring Break. Or MTV,
I know we're going to talk about MTV Spring Break.
No, like Summer Beach House, anything MTV related where you had all these peers that were on TRL together, that were the top videos and like top 40 artists and rockers that were doing well at the time. And you put them in a hotel together and you put them on stage for 2 songs and then set them loose. There's shenanigans. And those are the craziest of the times. Like, that was like, and there weren't like, I'm like you. I was like, none of us in our band, actually, none of us did drugs. We drank all the time. we didn't even smoke weed. We're just like, we didn't take pills.
Yeah.
We enjoyed partying and being around crazy people, which, but
that's fun.
We can get more in depth if you want.
Well, I think I have specific questions about it. And I like my questions. So let's like start going through those to make sure we hit them all. But you start off kind of like late 80s. Didn't Pop Off only did kind of, you almost, became an 80s rock band, but you didn't luckily because you became the 90s rock band. So kind of tell us about like your history, how it was growing up for you and the scene of which you grew up with.
I mean, I guess it goes back from day one. Our dad was a radio DJ. My brother, who plays guitar in Lit, he and I were kind of born into this music thing on not only on my dad's side. I guess when I was born, my dad was in country radio. And then, once I was old enough to even realize what he was doing, he was at pop radio. Kiss FM, Los Angeles. He was a DJ there for about 8 years. So we were raised on vinyl records because that's when DJs still played vinyl and had to cue them up. And our whole living room was just filled with vinyl that he would bring home. So everything from, pop radio then was, you name it. It was everything from Michael Jackson to Lionel Richie, Dolly Parton, like, pop was everything. It wasn't just like the hits, dance music, it was like country music. It was like, we didn't even know what genres were because we were just raised on, these are the most popular songs. And there's a reason, because they're listening to the hooks. They're so catchy. And these songs are just like the songs that everyone wants to sing along with. So those were the songs that we would play constantly in our house to learn. I guess that's where we were embedded with this sense of like melody and just pop music. And then it wasn't until we kind of got to the age where we got to decide on the records that came into our house. And that was, when heavy metal kind of entered our world, and it was like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Ozzy and all the metal of like the mid 80s. And that had just as much influence on us to this day. Like you'll hear it in solos, that harmonies in the solos my brother plays, to like just the heaviness. The melodies are pop, and sometimes the way I sing is like lighter, but if you listen to the guitar, it's a Marshall amp. So we sort of, and then after that, we kind of got into more of the Foreigners, and like we went back kind of like you did. We were into artists that our parents were into, or that, we kind of missed out on, and we drew from that. Elvis Costello was like one of my biggest influences. Probably subconsciously, groups like Duran Duran and like anything that was on MTV was just like, we were sponges. We're like, we had no judgment. We weren't like heavy metal only, what is this pussy music, whatever. Like, we loved everything. Even like I said, Poison, bands, like guys came out with makeup on and they look like chicks. We're like, all right, like these guys are killing it. And they're like, everyone loves them. Like, yeah, I'm down. So, we kind of just roll with the punches. And I thought I kind of went ahead of myself, but our grandfather was another big influence. We spent a lot of weekends at our grandparents' house. He was a World War II veteran and had an army band called the Jump Masters. And he was a drummer and he was a singer and a dancer. And he was like post-World War II, like swinging years, you know what I mean? Which is where we got the name of our first record, Trippin' the Light Fantastic. We asked him, we're like, Pop, like when you were our age, what did you call, like, what was it called when you and all your friends were just going to go out and just tear it up? He's like, Trippin' the Light. Like, okay, like we're thinking about like calling our record, like we want to throw it back to like your time. Like, what would you say? What would be a good title? Like, he said that people would say Trippin' the Light Fantastic. And so that was where we got the title of that record, was just that very like post-World War II time period. And that was like an energy, which is also how we came up with our name, was we're all about just the energy. And Lit was like, we had there was a journalist at one of our shows, like in a club before we ever got a deal. And he wrote a did a write-up on us and said, watching this band was like watching a bomb go off in a building. And we just thought it was the biggest compliment in the world. You probably can't say that now either. Rightfully so. But like,
that's very funny. Yeah.
We're like, yeah, and like this is way before we call our band Lit, but we thought back to that review and we're like, a bomb going off in a building, like something that's lit. That's an energy, like something's about to blow up. And that was like before it was a word, that everyone uses now. We're like, people are gonna just think we're stoners, or we're just like, oh, we're getting lit, we're, lushes or whatever. But it was all about just that energy that has fed this band from then till now. It's just always like, if you don't have that like genuine fuel from your audience or from each other, it's just like, I could see how like we would be a band that would just be like, we don't do it for anything other than that, honestly. Like we would just, all right, got my real estate invested in whatever, and that's cool until we, I'm not going to do it when I don't love it. As soon as I stop like loving it, and we all feel that way, we'll just like gracefully bow out. So when we put out records now, we're like, we'll start writing, and if we're not like excited, it's like, all right, let's wait, and then till it feels good.
I think such a cute story. I love that story. It's wonderful. So I'm kind of thinking up. So I was looking at like your logo, and that's so like bowling alley, like 70s, ish. And I'm kind of like picking up on a theme of, like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, because there's like fun vibes, 90s. Are there, time periods that you're like really into and you're like, oh, I fucking love that? You were talking about starting an Airbnb business and you want it to be kind of mid-century modern. Do you really get into like different decades and styles? Because I think you have incredible style. And I was looking at pictures and videos and, cheetah and velvet and all these different things. Like you've got great style, and it seems like you're really into decades.
Thanks so much.
Time periods, right?
Yeah, not too many though. It's pretty much those, the ones you mentioned. I mean,
specific ones, yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of getting a little bit more, I'm more open to the 70s than I ever was. Like I'm kind of getting more into that, like some of those burnt oranges and like more shaggy feels and greens. And my favorite eras are the 50s and 60s probably. But like I said, now I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's because like those, every decade that goes by, like they get those ones that were like closer to me are now further away. So they kind of like become cool. We don't have anything like those anymore. Like the cars from even like early 90s trucks now, I'm looking at those like old Ford 250s, from like the mid 90s. I'm like, those look like classic cars to me now. It's like, it's crazy. But I guess it depends what we're talking about. If we're talking about furniture, 50s
I'm
and 60s.
talking about everything. Like I'm an empath. So like it's visual and like what we're talking about, and it paints a picture. And
I love the simplicity of those times. I love how like I'm a minimalist that gets out of control sometimes, and then I have to reset. I'm like, get rid of everything and start over. But like, I love the look of, I love walking into a room and seeing like, this is a bad example. A couch, a chair, coffee table, and like a picture on a wall, no TV, maybe, what I mean? I just like the simple times where, and I still like, I love going out and just mowing my lawn. Mm-hmm. I think like the times of like checking out and keeping it simple, there's something about it that just brings me peace. And maybe it's that because I'm a Virgo Libra cusp, like the Libra side of me is very visual, and it's like, if there's like clutter, it'll ruin my day. Like it will literally like, my brain goes wherever that is. So like simple looks, like take me to a nice calm place. I think that might be why I am so into the 50s, the most simple. 60s, 70s got crazy. That's like the jungle room at Graceland, I
haven't been to Graceland yet, but I have to go. Like I'm going to Europe for a month, and when I get back, let's do Graceland next.
You have to do it, but you're also going to walk through it, and you're gonna probably go like, you like expect so much more.
I'm not.
Intensity.
I'm not.
But it's you got to remember what it was then. Like, especially you go into that room and there's like all the TVs, and it's just, now it's like you'd see them at a junkyard, these box TVs, and it's smaller than you think, but it's Graceland.
No, I don't at all.
You would probably love it then.
No, I'm not like that. I kind of feel, so I've had like 2 recurring dreams in my life. And one is that my grandma died and she's still with us. But like I've had a recurring dream, since I was a small girl, that my grandma died, and I wake up crying in my sleep. And I've always been so massively obsessed with Elvis. And I've studied a lot and listened a lot, and I love his music so much. And I think it's really beautiful for what it is. But the only other recurring dream I ever had was that I woke up crying from my sleep, and it was because Elvis died. And Elvis died before I was even born. So I think there might be like something. I'm so ingratiated in music, and I know so many artists. Like, I don't know, maybe I knew him in a past life or something. I don't know, but I've always had this like weird, intense connection. So I think I would really love it for everything that it is. And I wouldn't want it to be anything more. I wouldn't want it to be prettier, and I wouldn't wish to see a filter on it. I would love to see it for how it was.
It's definitely like, I need to go back. My wife's never been. We're in Nashville, but we've never taken a drive to Memphis.
Yeah.
To like see it. I know things have changed about it. Actually, they're growing his whole wardrobe museum is just, I've seen pictures. It's insane. So I want to go back and just see all that. He's just, you can't see it. He's right here, but I got a life-size Elvis. That has been on my back patio. He was there in California. He's been with me for like over 20 years. And he's always been outside. And so we moved to Nashville, and he was outside. He's always kind of protected the house. Is like, because people will show up and like, oh fuck, and get somebody there. And the weather started getting kind of gnarly for him, and he was like, I'm gonna get a cover. So I got this big statue cover for him. And as soon as I did that, I didn't realize, like, because we get high winds here, like shit, we get tornadoes and stuff, but we got like these high winds one day, and as soon as I put the cover on him, it was like a parachute or a sail, and it slammed him on the ground and broke his arm off. And he's look at,
our Elvis. Well, you showing me the arm makes me know what the rest of the statue looks like, so that's cool.
I mean,
so now I know which Elvis statue you have. So cool.
He's holding a guitar, and he's actually one of the most, like, the closest to Elvis as far as features go that I've seen in the statue, but I got to fix him.
Well, I was
exactly.
I'm still talking about it to this day. Yeah. That's funny. Well, we talked about your style, and we've talked about, Little Mania, and that really happened for you guys. So let's kind of talk about the explosion of what happened to you guys and how that felt. I know it was 10 years in the making until you guys exploded, and then you exploded. So just like, how was it for you, and how did that feel? Paint a picture.
Okay. I mean, we had like designed or built our entire existence around our band from high school. That's when we pretty much formed. I was 14, and I was a drummer, and I started a band with my current bass player, Kevin. And we decided that we already knew this is what we were going to do forever. We're just like, okay, this is the early inception. We got to figure out, like, how do we even begin? Like, we were never a cover band. So that's kind of like, let me paint the picture that way. We never got into a rehearsal space and played cover songs. It was always like, we have to write original music. So we were just making this terrible noise, and also we weren't good enough to play anybody's songs. So we had to start like from scratch and just like make music that we could play. So fast forward to our very first show. I was 14. I still played drums. We played the Troubadour in Hollywood. And that was like that first taste of just being I mean, Hollywood was our stomping grounds for 10 years. So that was the beginning of that. But every show, we were trying to figure out how to make these Sunset Strip stages feel like Long Beach Arena or MTV. Like when they say like fake it till you make it, I guess that's the epitome of it. We're like, we're going to get on stage and feel like we're on an arena stage, because that's our dream and that's why we're doing this. And we don't want to wait. And our whole thing was like, we're going to get there. But until then, we literally would buy like props that were these heavy, like we had school lockers on our stage because we wanted to like sort of like show people that we were still in school, and like, we're going to bring our high school to the stage and we're going to show you like that we're younger than all these other bands, but we're going to like kick ass. And so we just like, our thing was just act like you make it, and felt like we made it till we did. And it's a whole different animal, but I think we were ready for it. And I'm glad we didn't get an early break. I'm glad we had to work our asses off and pass off flyers every weekend for 10 years and play shitty shows and play great shows. But we did get a taste of the energy of a legitimate fan and what that did for us. When like, there's nothing's going to stop us from getting there and doing an actual arena show. So I think along the way, we felt like we were having these breaks. We had these moments that were like, this person wants to manage us. Like, oh, I think it's happening. This is awesome. And then like we had to work for another, 5 years. And then we started getting like indie label interest. Then we ended up signing with Delicious Vinyl. It was nostalgic, great label for like Tone Loc and Young MC and a lot of rap bands. And they wanted to sign a rock band. And we did that for a minute. And we was like, wow, we didn't make it yet. This is like, we're still going to the label and we're stuffing envelopes and we're, just still working it. And then I think it was when, I could tell you this, I'm going to get to the story that like, I think started really changing things for us, was when, actually don't know Wild Orchid, but Black Eyed Peas, Stacey Ferguson, Fergie. So Fergie used to come to our shows back when she was Stacey, and with another friend of ours, and was at all the shows. And she told her A&R guy, Ron Fair, that you have to come see this band Lit. And he was like, okay. Finally, like after her coming to like a handful of shows, she talks him into driving from LA to Orange County to watch a rehearsal in a hot warehouse. And he's like, anybody that knows Ron Fair knows he's like, AC set at like 65 and like shoes and socks off. And also he produced like Christina Aguilera, and like, he's a massive producer, like pop guy. He was not a rock guy at all. But she got him to come out, and then he's like, I love you guys. He's like, RCA would not let me sign you right now. My track record's not looking good. I'm going to bring in my buddy Bruce Floor, who's the rock guy, to come see you. Brings him down. He signed Foo Fighters and like Dave Matthews. So he was like big reputable rock A&R guy. And the two of them ended up signing us. And I think it was just a matter of like a couple months that they had everyone from the New York office at the Viper Room in Hollywood for a showcase. And it was literally like the past like 10 plus years of just doing it till like all of a sudden it's like this high speed roller coaster that was, wait a minute, the president of RCA Records and vice president and all these people are coming out here to see us, and they wanted to do the deal. We were like, I feel like the deal was done. We were in the studio. My understanding, we had a demo that had like 4 songs on it, and that all these labels had passed on. Every label passed on it. It was like My Understanding 4, maybe not Ziploc. Anyways, there's like 4 songs that are on the record, Place in the Sun. And we, next thing you know, we're on a flight to New York to meet the rest of the office. We're in the studio recording these songs for real. My Understanding is already getting picked up on radio, like as a demo, and they're like sending cease and desist letters. it was St. Louis radio station, The Point. And we literally like didn't even have time to think about what's happening. We're just like, okay, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been doing this for our entire lives. And it looks like it's happening. And it literally was like everything we can ever dream of. It was literally happening. And for the next many, many years was just, well, that was a dream come true. That was a dream come true. Like, holy shit. Just looking at each other like, and it's that much cooler when you can look at not only my brother, who's a guitar player and bass player I went to junior high with, our drummer that we grew up together. So we're literally like, you can experience that stuff by yourself and you're like, oh, I want to share it with my best friend. You know what I mean? It's different when you're doing it alone, but like we're literally doing it together and we're just like, this is the coolest shit, right? And it's high-fiving. And there was just something about, I guess, that magic and that feeling that's like, this industry goes like this, and it's just not always rad. And then it is, and it's not. And then it's like, you're pissed and it sucks. And then it's out of nowhere, another experience comes out and it's like, damn, this is why. So it literally is like, that thing you do movie. It's like when we heard our song on the radio, I was with my bass player the first time we heard it on the radio, and we're like literally like tears and just like tackled each other. It was like, oh my God, can you believe it? Like, it's for real. And it's almost like it doesn't feel real, but it's like, it is. I can't tell you how many nights I was like, I'd lay in bed and like just pray. And I don't go to church, but I'm spiritual and I pray. And I was like literally every night, like, please, please, please let this hard work pay off. And so when it did, it was just like, oh my God.
And there's so much like, I feel, well, for me and for you, like for us, yes. But I feel like that period in time, there's so much magic in there. And it's because of MTV and just listening to you talk. I can't imagine like having the video on MTV and just like seeing it out there. And
yeah,
it's
like,
crazy. There's so much magic in that time. I feel like
it's because there's mystery. If there's no mystery, there's no magic, right? There's still magic now, but it's different. I feel like it's harder to find the magic because I didn't have, in fact, I don't think I had a cell phone until like late 99. Mm-hmm. I'd already been on like the road I remember being in the UK with a calling card, losing all touch with
your poor mother, right?
Yeah, just no contact with anybody, just in it. Yeah. And then as far as like, and what was the thing about MTV that was such a big deal is because no one could see their their favorite band. They couldn't see really what they looked like in a magazine maybe, but like they had to turn on MTV and like see what they looked like when they were playing their song or go to the concert. But there was a mystery.
Yeah. So I'll forever be sad that I just cut you off, but you get when you watching TV, you get a feel for people's personalities and like who they are and their sense of humor. But I'll forever be so upset at myself that I cut you off while you're talking about that.
Oh, you have to cut me off. You have to cut me off.
No,
you won't get a word in.
The best stuff is when you just keep going and going and going. That's the best. That's absolutely the best. But
I think I fought social media for so long because I use an example. This reference you may not know. Do you know who Dio was? The metal band? So Ronnie James Dio, or like, I mean, they were hand in hand with like Metallica and like,
yeah,
those were our favorite bands. But like, to us, Ronnie James Dio, singer of Dio, we thought he lived in a castle with like gargoyles, in his entrance to his house and like fog machines always on. And like, I would have probably been crushed if I would have like seen where he was actually living. I'm sure he had a nice house, but it was probably like too bright and cheery for who we thought he was. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that's a hilarious way to describe it. That's so funny.
I would never want to, like, people don't need to know, and now they do, but how much cooler would they think their favorite bands were if they didn't see them drinking a cup of coffee and cooking a steak in their kitchen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, everyone's so accessible, and it sucks that our genre has, like, our rock stars are so accessible these days. And, you know, rap has kind of taken over the mysteriousness and like that kind of like dying to meet them, or like that element of like, oh my fucking God. Like rap is kind of taking that over a little bit. And I wish, you know, money wise, you know, because I want to see all my friends rich and happy and in big fucking houses. You know, I wish there was a little bit more of that for, you know, some of my friends. You know, everyone's like super nice and accessible, but a fucking castle with gargoyles. Yeah.
You want that.
Yeah.
It takes away that like foreplay or whatever you want to, whatever it is. It's that build up that leads to that, like going to the show and it's like, holy fucking shit. Cause imagine like not seeing anybody's, take a band that came out in, you know, 2 years ago and they're massive on the socials.
Yeah, like Spirit Box.
Yeah, like what if you never ever you heard their song and you fell in love with their music, and then like the first time, like you have this like idea what you think it's going to be like, and then you show up and then just like get that adrenaline where you almost pass out. That's like the Beatlemania thing where you're like, you practically pass out because you're just like overwhelmed with endorphins. It's just like, now like you almost like, you saw the show the night before on your feed. You saw the move, you saw the look. It's going to be slightly different, and there's nothing like being in person anyway. I mean, it's still going to be like, fuck yeah. But like, yeah, we're never going to get that back. And I don't want to sound like the guy is like, you know, well, when I was a young man, you know, it was so much better, because there's things
that's me doing this on this podcast, because this is what I'm talking to you about. No, sorry, I will be happy to cut you off there. No, I'm talking about that. That's how I feel about you guys. And like, no, I'm doing that. That's me. Like, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. That's maybe
what will happen, and everyone's afraid of like, oh God, here I go again. Everyone's afraid of like
keep going, keep drinking.
Now it's like I'm out of wine, I think. You know, Russia and like all this shit coming to a head, and like, are they gonna like cut off our power and our computers and our, we know, like never mind. I'm trying to see like the positive side of that. Like, okay, take all that away. Let's like, we have to get if we have to go back to basics.
You were trying to make that positive.
Never mind. That was it. I mean, I grew up in where I was afraid of Russia for
find everything funny. I'm a fan of comedy. That's not funny.
I'm Russian, by the way, so I'm like,
oh, are you?
Yeah. There you go. You never knew. Popoff, you probably couldn't have guessed it.
I don't know. Yeah. What is that? What?
Russian.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. You have no idea. My last name is Steinmetz, so I'm a German Jew. It's my party trick. There you go.
That's amazing. You were you were the light at the end of the tunnel. Like you were literally like the German, and said, you know what? Like, we're gonna, these Jewish women are all right with me. And what size German?
My dad's side.
Yeah. See. Yeah. Like, fuck you guys.
Well, I have like a few more MTV 90s questions, so we'll keep going. And this is such a good question. I'm just really proud of myself for this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Were you team Real World or Road Rules?
I would probably be more Road Rules.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I didn't watch a lot of either, but I mean,
I was expecting more of a reaction from you. I thought you were going to go like nostalgia alley, freak out, and go, oh my God.
Well, I'll be totally honest with you. When those shows were on, they weren't playing videos. So I was kind of like, fuck this show. More music. And that's when MTV stopped playing music videos. They started playing shows like that. And it was a thing for a while. But are you one of my really good friends is Johnny Bananas. Do you know that name?
No.
So he was Real World. He went on to like all the challenge shows.
Yeah. Oh, which one was he? Which
he's very loud, like New York X. Johnny Bananas. I'm sure that he was on like brain. I think Real World like 2 or something.
Okay. Yeah, those were just such good shows. I loved it. Okay, so
They were good shows, but yeah, I can't be mad at them now. If I would have known that where it was going.
But it's a good point, though. You make an excellent point that I wouldn't have thought of, that was kind of a first tiptoe out of music. So it's actually a great point.
It really was. We used to complain about it. Like, this isn't like, I think CMT does it too for country music. Like, they used to play all these like old like movies and old shows. Like,
God, they play nothing but like Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Like,
well, that show's all right.
It's great. It's great, but it's also like wildly hysterical. They're like, honey, your thighs are like this big. They really need to be like this big. Like, it's just funny.
They're parodying themselves.
Yeah. A parody of themselves. So it's just like, oh my God, this is so funny. But that's a great point about those shows. How astute of you. Good point.
We need to reel it back. Reel it in. All music, all the time.
I know. And I just got a TV deal with producers. And one of the concepts was I have a programming contact at Viacom. And one of the concepts that I would like to relaunch, I have 3 that I'm working on right now, was very like music related to a show way back when, and MTV just disbanded all music coverage recently within like the past 2 or 3 weeks. So that's kind of like, like, okay, Netflix it is, or like another network it is, but it's just like, it's like another.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is kind of rad. I mean, I guess you can get just about anything there.
Another really big thing I would love to talk about, like what it gives to me as a woman, being able to talk about some of the biggest women of the time with one of the biggest bands of the time, Carmen Electra, MTV Spring Break, one iconic interaction between you guys, and then the Pamela Anderson video. I want to know how that happened. Which one do you want to talk about first?
We can talk about Carmen, because it was a crazy moment that we had no idea was going to be like still
iconic.
This like, but it maybe, I mean, it makes sense because we were just like, whoa, like what the hell's going on? Because it literally, like, being a band during that time, and as crazy as it was to be at an MTV Spring Break or whatever, as an artist, you also, like, the nerves were insane because you're like, this is televised. This is a big, big deal. Like, we want to perform well and, want everything to be perfect. So, like, when you get thrown a curveball, and that was completely unplanned. So, like, we're like in the middle of the song and she comes walking out, and we're like, oh my God, like, what the hell is going on? Oh, that's Carmen Electra, Jesus Christ. And we had, like, I don't know if it was that night or the night before, we had all like gone to a dinner and stuff, and might have been like, no, I think it was that night. And really, that was like, that moment on stage was what you see in the video. After it was done, she walked off, and I don't know where she went. And then there were other models, like Fashionably Loud or something. So other girls were walking up, and we get off stage, and we ended up, who knows, I don't know where we went, but we would go to like dinner with like Carson Daly. And I remember this one in particular was like, we were leaving the hotel to go to dinner, and we were in a limo, and we're packed, and we see Carmen like coming out of the hotel, and she's like, wait guys. We're like, yeah, what's up? She's like, can I get in with you guys? We're like, yeah, absolutely. Open the door, and she just like climbs on top of us, and like we go to dinner, and she's sitting in our lap, like a couple of us like sprawled out on our laps. And honestly, nobody hooked up with Carmen. I don't want to kill the mystery there, but we all just hung out and went to dinner with M&M's there, and like all these, like, I think Cisco, and like just crazy, weird Boulevard of Broken Dreams table. Mm-hmm. And
what a cute way to describe it.
But we like, I mean, we had so much fun. But actually that the crazy thing is, like, no one sees or talks about it, was like, that was the show, that was the MTV event that I ended up meeting Paris Hilton, and her and I were like hanging out for a little bit, and nothing was televised, and nothing was talked about. And in retrospect, that's who I hung out with that whole time.
So it was like, what was really going on besides like this big thing that everyone thought was happening?
Which is also that mystery that like nowadays that would be, can you imagine? Is like everyone would be talking about it and would have been a thing. Like that was the thing. That was the place to be that on that night or that weekend or whatever. And but yeah, and that's
cute. Awesome. That's cute to know. I love the little story of like what was actually happening. And everyone thought this was that thing. Like I love that. That's
totally different. Yeah, it's a different reality.
Yeah, I didn't think I put a question in about the VMAs. Like, how were those?
We never won one.
Fuckers.
I don't know. We really like making videos too.
Yeah. Well, it was what you did back then. The music videos were so important. Like,
it was everything for us. Making them too. I can't believe all the money it cost to make a video back then. It's like nowadays people are making killer videos for like 12 grand, 20 grand max, you know? It's like we were spending like, or our label was spending $400,000 on a video, you know? Like,
no way, that much.
We did the video for our song Over My Head. Luckily, it was Capitol Records because it was for a soundtrack, and that was like $500,000.
What?
No. That was $1 million video. $1 million.
Yeah. $1 million?
Pull that one up. It's just all animated. It's not even that cool a video. It's kind of cheesy. All the other videos. It's the beginning of like realizing that you can make a cooler video for less money.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Well, then that leads us to the Pamela video. It's so iconic because, you know, like how did they do that? You know, I'm talking to the guy himself. How did they do that? You know, with the editing, and it's just so cute that she's like eating you and like, you know, eating everyone in them. Like even that, like how'd y'all do that?
I mean, back then it was a lot of work for the director back then, and for the editing team. I knew it took a long time. But the concept for that video was like someone from the label or someone came to us with this, like, the director had this idea for kind of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman idea where this giant girl in a bathing suit is like chasing down the banshee. And we're like, but that's not really what we like hot chicks, but that's not what we're about. We don't see that direction being cool. At the time we were shooting a TV show with Pam, VIP. It's like a kind of like the Charlie's Angels meets like Knight Rider or something. And she was my like private security guard, and the other girls on the show were like, had different guys in the band. So I was like literally with Pam, like doing the show like a week straight, spending like 10 hours a day. So we like kind of got to know each other, and we all hit it off. We were hanging out. Everything was like, she's super down to earth, very cool. And we were talking about it, and we're like, this idea would be insane if Pamela would be the girl. Like if we can get Pam Anderson to be the girl in this video and be the giant woman that eats us, like done deal. Like we're all about it. So and we hit up Pam about it. We're like, how do you feel about this idea and like being on a video? And she's like, oh my God, yeah, absolutely. So she ends up like she's down. We get the video, everything's planned out. She shows up, like doesn't charge us a dime to be there. Like it's like it was just literally like she wanted to be in this video. She's like, just pay for my hair and makeup artist. Like she is this her art. Yeah.
That is like, that's shocking. Like that's,
and she spent like
that is so cool. That's really wonderful. Super like cool. You wouldn't know that.
Nobody would ever, they're like, oh my God, that must have cost a fortune. Like she spent 14 hours of her day with her kids when they're just little ones running around, and just a total trooper. But the crazy thing about that video is like, by the time like we got done with all Pamela stuff, it was probably 3 a.m. and like I had come down with like the flu. Like I was so sick and just so tired, and just like, all right, we got to get the band performance video now footage. And so like all the stuff you see of like the band, us and me singing, like I was like, thank God for like makeup, because I was probably green. I was like feeling so shitty.
When I think of Lit, just like word association is fun, exuberance, just this like overwhelming, like, oh my God, feeling. And then it's also then cut to, because this is how my mind works, fun, exuberance, oh my God, yay feeling. And then in my mind, it cuts to MTV Spring Break and people jumping up and down. So that's like, that's how I look at Lit. Yeah.
Cool. I mean,
I don't hate it.
That's kind of how I look at things, I guess, too. Because you have like, I mean, I guess it's like, for me, it's with Elvis or any of those like iconic people. I'm not saying I'm iconic, but like those times,
I think you are. Yeah.
Iconic times.
Yeah.
Where you compartmentalize all this, like, what is this thing? Is people I guess people look at it as like I hate all the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. Like, I was gonna say brand, but like, it's not that. It's like, it's a palette or whatever, a palette of sounds and colors and, imagery that makes up something that's nostalgic, I guess. And the 90s are very nostalgic, and so are actually the 2000s now, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But you do have memories that there's so many years between that, like, they kind of dilute. So when you like have to sort of summarize it all into like this in a flash, what is it? It's these things, A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And so understand like that for sure. And I don't know what, I want more. I want a new artist to come out and like give me those things. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I search for it. And when I see like certain like unique things in a new artist, I'm like, I'll DM him. I'm like, do that. Like, what you're doing right now is awesome. And like, it's inspiring, and just do that. And I think like, as cheesy as that is, like DMs, I'm like, guys, I want to encourage that. Because when I see something unique, I'm like, well, music needs it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you may not feel this way about you, but you're that. Like, I really was really careful with using the word nostalgia in our interviews, because your new music is really good and it feels exactly as good as your older music. So I was very careful to use the word nostalgic. But
I used to hate that word, but I'll go there now. I'll just use it, whatever. But yeah, thank you.
Well, I can see why it's insulting. Sure. Like you're not dead. I can see, I'm still here. Today is like October 21st, 2022. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I can't go back to 1995.
Well, you could be I think you could be nostalgic without like, that's all you are. I think if you were like, you're a part of an era that was nostalgic, you could talk about that era. Yeah. Doesn't mean that you don't talk about today. Like, I love talking about that time period, but I would love to talk about new stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there. The new music, because seriously, like everything I loved about Lit back then, it really isn't done often. Most people are like, well, I love the new album, when press, they interview new bands.
Yeah.
But it's not the same feeling. And I've never listened to a band's like newest album that they just put out and been like, oh my God, I love it. Like it's the first. Like I was listening to research for this, and normally you just kind of go back to the songs, and listen to those over and over, and you're like, oh shit, okay, I'll go listen to the new. But I was listening to the new, really just like vibing out on that as much as I would the old stuff. And that never happens.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I mean, anybody who's like, and we have so many like awesome fans that have stuck through everything and been there the whole way. And I don't know if you're familiar with the record we put out before Tastes Like Gold. But we were,
no, I wasn't.
Okay. So I'll enlighten you a little bit. The move to Nashville was, part of it was that my brother and I had been coming here for, probably 10 to 15 years. And just writing with a bunch of like great writers out here, and fell in love with like a lot of country music. Surprisingly, like I'd never, like growing up, never thought I was going to be a fan of of anything country or anything other than rock and pop, but fell in love with it. Just the writing of it, just the telling stories, and like not about trucks and dirt roads and things like that. It was like literally just like real life. Never was good about like writing autobiographical stuff. I was like just kind of like drew from other people's stories, and for once was able to kind of like get a little more personal about stuff. And anyways, long story short, we ended up writing all these songs that were very country leaning, but like still were lit as well. And kind of like contemplated changing the name of, you know, calling it like Popoff Brothers or whatever, and not putting it out as Lit. And then everyone was saying, no, just this is where you're at now. Just put it out as Lit. And I think it confused a lot of our fans. Were like, love it, but it also confused a lot of people. And we kind of like realized it took us a while to like, we evolved as writers, and this is where we were as writers. But as we thought about it, we're like, man, we are so much more than just like this road or that road. We're like, we came from a place that, like I was telling you earlier, started out metal and like went to all these different ways. Every record was a little different. But we're like, what were we feeling like when we wrote A Place in the Sun or Atomic Record? Like, where was our head at then? Like, we didn't overthink lyrics. We didn't overthink the songwriting process. We just kind of like show up to this rehearsal space and just churn up the amps to like 11 and just let it rip and just come up with whatever. Like, man, how we kind of had to challenge ourselves. We're like, how do we get back to that place and just see what it feels like? And we started working, like collaborating with just our peers, and sort of like had a hard time finding that. And then all of a sudden we just kind of like, it just made sense. We're just like, let's underthink it. Let's go with like the feel. And once we kind of captured it, we just kind of kept letting it flow. With our co-writers and co-producers, just found this chemistry that was like working so well. And it literally felt like the energy that we had then. And I can think a lot of artists say that when they're like, put out a new record, like, oh, this is it's our best work yet. And I don't know that it's our best work, but it's the most exciting thing we've put out in like decades. And it's probably if it's not my favorite record, it's my second favorite record.
Yeah.
Because A Place in the Sun for me was a life-changing record. So
yeah,
you're never gonna, and I'm not gonna, in my mind, beat that. Those are like the experiences we were talking about, those music videos. And but yeah, it's old school lit with like a new approach, like with production and just like feels just like new and good to me.
What a gift. Like, screw everyone, like you've given so much of yourself to the world. Like, who cares? But what a beautiful thing. And I love country. I really love country. And I love like, truck, talking about trucks and stuff like that. That can be fun too. And I love it. And I love breaks. Like, I can listen to the heaviest death metal in the world, but there's a lot of folk music that's really getting me through my days these days. Like, I've been in a folk phase for a while, but I love everything, and I love country, and I think that's beautiful. And I haven't listened to it, and I can't wait to go listen to it.
Nice.
And
yeah, it's good.
Like,
I always keep an open mind. Like, I love different times of my day. Like, I wake up, the first thing I do, usually I come downstairs, start getting coffee going, and I do like I have the whole Alexa thing. I was like fought it for a while. I'm like, I don't really want someone listening to me, but I'll say, Alexa, play, and I do every morning, play morning jazz. And so I start my day out with morning jazz playlist and open all the windows, get it like bright in the house, and just starts my day off great. And then I go through my phase through the day, like, oh, Alexa, play yacht rock. And I'll listen to some yacht rock, or I'll listen to pop. And I love everything. I love, anything from that stuff to the cheesiest modern pop, and like, new alternative bands. And like, I just like to keep an open mind and, just be inspired by good shit.
Yeah. I think, pop has like a bad rep, I would say, you know, like in our genre. But I'm obsessed and I can't stop listening to, and I post about Halsey all the time. And like
voice.
the depth of her lyrics are so dead on with like what you would, you know, expect from like a heavy metal or a rock band, that you would expect these like deep things. And people, I think that it surprises people that I post about her so much. And there's like I don't do it often, but I'll go listen to like some pop, and they've got really deep lyrics that are very impactful. So if you like keep an open mind, some of it, yeah. I just thought about like WAP or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of it's
everything.
You can hear the difference. Like, there's some of it that's machine pop, and it's like this formula, whatever. It's some of it's fun, it's cool, but like the stuff you're talking about is definitely like. And I mean, everyone does, I think, but like Post Malone and just like, I mean, that guy, even like when he sings country, have you heard his like, when he gets kind of country and does that? And like, he is soul. He's like the closest thing I've seen in a very long time to, and people consider him a pop star, but he's a rock star. He's like, he's one of those just great energies.
Whatever I want, whenever I want.
Does whatever, yeah.
And
he's like not afraid to let his guard down. I just love that.
Yeah, he's a great example. I was kind of talking about that, like fun, that you know, feeling that sometimes isn't there anymore. He has that. Sure. I wouldn't really talk about that. He has that.
Yeah,
I like that. So, I love earlier that you talked about like your sign. You're like, I'm a cuss this, I'm a cuss that. In one of your newest singles, so your song. Is it 6662777, or is that the joke that I made about it?
That's a Chad Tepper song that we did a collab with. Yeah.
Okay.
We actually wrote that right here when Chad came out here to write. And we had a day, and I don't know, he was talking about his girl, and how, because he's had a rough, you know, upbringing. I say rough, like he was, you know, struggled. His family struggled. He seems like he was always like saw the brighter side and was always kept pretty positive. At least he's that energy now, and he kills it. I just love being around the guy. But he was just talking about how he was in such a dark place and like just miserable, and but this girl like just made him feel great and just was kind of saved him. I'm like, you think maybe you went from 666 to 777? And we're like, everyone kind of laughed, like, can you say that? Like, it's kind of weird. Like, and they were like, yeah, let's like, you should write a song about that. And I just love saying weird, you know, sometimes like in a song, you can say whatever you want. And like, it may not, it's almost like miserable. That like, we never thought radio would ever play a song that said, you make me come. Mm-hmm. You made me complete. And people still ask like they're like, that's the craziest like lyric ever. But like, if you don't say weird shit and you don't just like put it out there, then you're never going to be like the first one to show up. You know what I mean? You're just kind of like going with the safe route. So to me, that was like, I don't know, I'm like, dude, that'd be badass if you, because it was for him, and we ended up making a collaboration. So I sang a verse with him, but I do love how that song turned out. That was, I love doing like, and that was, you know, just an offshoot. It's on the new record, but it's on our Spotify.
Well, I think we will end it talking about, you have put out so many albums and you're known for very specific songs and very specific albums, but what are some of your favorite songs that are really good that people don't know about, that you're like, hey, go listen to this? And let's include some on the new album, because I want to direct people directly to that new album because it's so good and it's still the feeling of classic Lit.
No, so like the new record is, I just want to make a video for every song on the new record. I think a lot of artists do that, and I think maybe we will eventually, but it's just such a ride. And that's like my favorite albums that we've done have been just that. It starts out with like, and we kind of like usually plan our record out like we do a set list. So we like to come out of the gate like an opening song with something that's high energy rocker, and then just kind of like, we don't want people to like turn it off. You know what I mean? It's like keep the record on but keep it like, I don't know. We play like, we'll put a ballad in there and hang on, let me show you what my favorites are. And I kind of feel like I'm going to talk about the song that an artist that no one would ever know or ever guess I was a fan of, but Sandre Lurka, how do you say it? So I kind of like felt like when I was cutting the vocal, a lot of times when I cut a vocal, I'll like just channel either someone or something and just almost like a role. I'm kind of acting and I just kind of like just go with that feeling. And this song is so it's not like my favorite, but like when you ask like deep cuts or songs that like, people don't know, Hold That Thought. I don't know if you've heard that one.
Nope.
It's something like I channeled something I never have on a record. And I think vocally I did something I never done and kept it fresh for me. So I think that one is one of my favorites. I got to kind of step out of the box a little bit. Probably Taste Like Gold, the title track.
I love that song.
Has like, thank you, like a 50s sort of shuffle about it. Really, I'm just, obviously I'm most excited about the new record because I'm not like, haven't played half of these live yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like looking forward to like bringing these out. And
are you guys like doing another tour? Because it didn't match up and it sucked because I think that I've never seen y'all play live before. Like little me, I still haven't. I was like out of town or something and I missed it. So y'all are thinking around, but I still haven't.
Are you still you're in Texas now?
I live in Austin.
You're in Austin.
Yeah. But I travel, like I would travel to y'all's show.
We have like June, we have a lot, like June into July, we're doing stuff and we're doing When We Were Young festival coming up in was it September or no, wait.
October. Yeah. It's October.
That'll be a fun one. Talking shit show.
It can be.
We're gonna be.
There's nothing. Around. So I did check your dates. There's nothing announced right now.
Yeah, there's.
And I can cut it. Oh, great, good. So that's positive. Yeah, without saying anything, I'm like, do I have a shot?
You have a shot, and we love touring Texas, so you might not have to go very far.
Great, that's awesome. Well, one other question I wanted to ask, it's like, here's my last question. Then I remembered. I was like, oh, damn it. I want to ask this too. So this will be the last question. But you're a lyricist, you're a writer, you're a deep person, I believe. What are some of your favorite lyrics from another artist? What are some of your favorite lyrics that you've written yourself?
Well, I think some of my favorite lyrics are from Elvis Costello. Probably off the top of my head, Deep, Dark, Truthful Mirror. Elvis Costello, those lyrics are pretty on point with just anybody for that matter. If you like, think about your life or think about, like regret or whatever. I don't regret a lot of things, but at the same time, like, you just got to pull that song up and listen to it. And I think everybody can relate to it.
I've never listened to it. So we'll do that in 5 minutes. Yeah.
But like Blood and Chocolate, that record from Elvis Costello is just tons of great lyrics. Yeah, he's like, I think he's probably the best lyricist in my opinion.
Got it. Good to know. I've actually don't tell anyone. But yeah, now I've never listened to him. So I will go do that now.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
what a gift. I think you're supposed to find music when you're supposed to. I've actually never listened to him before, so I will do that now.
He's definitely one of those voices that you love or you hate, maybe. Mm-hmm. It's intense. I love his voice and his lyrics, but
yeah.
You have to give it a shot.
Excited to. Okay, yeah. And what are your favorite lyrics you've ever written? And you can do like deep and not deep because there's different levels, of course. There's like funny party that you're like, oh, that was clever. That was fun. And then there might be something that's like, well, this broke my heart and I came up with this.
Yeah. Oh, man, there's been so many songs. I feel like so tough to say. There's a song from The View from the Bottom called The Wall. And there's, can it be, I don't even think it wasn't even a line I came up with. It was one of the people we wrote with, John Stone, one of my good friends out here, and mostly a country writer. But he was, we were at my brother's house, and he was looking at a picture on the wall of, it was us with our drummer, Big Al, who passed away of brain cancer. And it was us, it was like his last show, and we were like doing the bow, and you could see the crowd and us on the stage, and he's like, wow. He's like, look at the picture. He goes, there's a lot. I bet you there's more behind that picture than the wall. And we're like, the way he said it, we're like, whoa. And so we wrote, the whole song is like, I guess it's sort of like judging a picture by its cover. Like, you can see a picture of somebody standing there with their parents, and maybe it's their step parent, and you're like, you have no idea that they can't stand that person that's with them in the picture. And it's like, I just think it was just so like deep. It was one of the deepest songs I think we've ever written, because it's like, you have no idea what's going on. That it's our last show together as a band that grew up together, or like, you have no idea. It just looks like a sweaty band that just played a show. And then I learned that, like, it's a case with a lot of things, you know. You run into somebody at the gas station and they're an asshole, or they cut you off on the road, and it's like, not to sound like I'm being too, like, you know, poetic with my views, but sometimes I remind myself, like, yeah, you have no idea what's going on in their world, you know. It's like, kind of helps you like reel it in.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I haven't listened to that song either, so when you imagine like
it was the first
emotional time I get to like go have here and just feel that. So it's fun. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, and then on a lighter note, yeah, My Own Worst Enemy was one of those songs that literally started lyrically. It started from, you know, I used to drive an old Cadillac that had a broken gas gauge, and I used to have to like write down, I pump gas in, I'd like, okay, there's 3 gallons. That'll get me about, you know, what?
Yeah, a day or day and a half or whatever. Like, no, it's like, today, Thursday or something.
No, 8 miles to the gallon at most.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there at the gas station. I was like, just thinking about like how I was my own worst enemy. I'm like, it's literally hungover or pissed off my girlfriend or whatever. And just like, just wrote down on a piece of paper. It's no surprise to me. I am my own worst enemy, because every now and then I kick the living shit out of me. I wrote it down and just sort of like forgot about it as I was like waiting for my 3 gallons of gas to pump. It probably was after I like pumped the gas and realized I couldn't fill my tank because I didn't have enough money, and it sucked. But yeah, then it just turned into this like song that's like we're still talking about. It's so weird.
Mm-hmm. And I can't believe I didn't ask the story behind that. What kind of interviewer am I? Thank you for like letting us not go away without knowing that story.
Just so simple.
It's like a plain white tea. It's so simple.
Totally.